Hey, thanks for watching another episode. Today we're gonna make fall off the bone ribs.
First thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to select the type of ribs. I like to use the baby back rib. It has a nice proportion of fat to meat, and there's not a lot of gristly parts. You can use a St. Louis cut, but there is a little bit more gristle and fat in there, and I just prefer these ones. Okay, what we're going to do here, guys, is we are going to cut it into 4 pieces. So I'm just going to eyeball it about right there and cut in between the bones. I'm going to do that twice. There's 4 bones per side on that one. And then right about there. And there we go. I have 4 pieces. So down here in the US, we have this really cool store called Trader Joe's, and they have this barbecue rub seasoning, coffee and garlic. So I'm going to season my ribs with that. Put that on there. I'm going to go heavy on the seasoning. You want to press it in there a little bit. Now flip it over. We're going to season the top. Good coating on there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what I like to do next is, this is going to be our braising liquid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into chicken stock. This is just the brand that I have right now. What you want the stock to taste like is lightly salty. You don't want it to be really, really salty, and you don't want it to be under salty either. If you under season it, the meat, the braise is going to be under seasoned as well. So you want it to taste good, not too salty, not too bland. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, give that a taste. It's a little bit light, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Try that, give it a stir. I'm also using warm water in here because the chicken base is going to dissolve in there a lot easier than cold water. So at least warm water. Give them another taste. Just a hair more. Okay, so I've just eyeballed the amount of water that it's going to take to cover the ribs. Now a little bit of that seasoning that we put on there is going to wash off, but is also going to season the stock, which in turn is going to season the meat. And so it's all good. We're just going to go ahead and pour it in nice and slow. Just enough to cover the meat. Perfect. It's just barely covering it.
So what I like to do with the ribs is start it off at a high heat. I'm gonna start it off at a 425 for the first, let's call it 1 hour, and then I'm gonna reduce the heat down to 350 and then do it probably for another 90 minutes. So 2.5 hours total time. It takes about 2.5 hours to get a good braise on I don't wanna say on every piece of meat, but on a lot of meat, that's kind of my go-to time, 2.5 hours. Short ribs, pork ribs, if you're braising, like even a pot roast, anything like that, 2.5 is about your happy medium. The reason why I'm starting it at 425 is to bring the liquid up to temperature on the inside, and you want to get it nice and hot, and then we want to go low and slow. It's going to break down all that connective tissue. It's going to fall off the bone tender when it's done.
Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the dish with the braising liquid and the ribs, and we're going to wrap it in foil. And this is something we call over wrapping in the restaurant business. It's not because we're going to over wrap it, it's because it comes from underneath and comes over to give that nice tight seal. And then I'm going to do it one more time this way. It has a nice tight seal. Okay, you can see here I have I went double wide on this one. The home style foil isn't as wide as it is in the restaurant, so I've done it too wide because I really want that really good coverage. So what I'm going to do is, again, we're over wrapping it like this. You're really looking for a nice tight seal. if it doesn't have a tight seal on it, the liquid can evaporate and you'll lose liquid on the inside. And what can happen is it can completely reduce the liquid and then dry out the product. When we're doing a braise, it has to be submerged in liquid, so we don't want any of it to evaporate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one more piece of foil just over top just to kind of cap it off and make sure we get that tight seal. I'm almost, I can't stress enough how tight the seal that you want on here. You really don't want to lose any of that liquid. So this will just cap it off. That gives us that perfect seal that we're looking for. Okay guys, so what we've done is we popped in the ribs with the liquid on the inside, triple wrapped in tin foil, nice and tight to keep that liquid in at 425. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna set the timer for 60 minutes. And just get that going. Okay guys, our timer has gone off. We've had the ribs in the oven for 60 minutes at 425 degrees. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn it down to 350. Okay, now that we've got the temperature up, nice and hot, like almost at a boil, kind of a simmer on the inside with these ribs, we're gonna bring it down to 350. We're gonna let it go for another 90 minutes, another hour and a half. So we're totaling 2.5 hours. So there we go. So after that's done, we're just gonna pull it out and we'll open it up and we'll let it cool. Okay, we got 2 minutes left here. So I'm gonna get in and pull our braising ribs out of the oven. Okay, so here we go. Here's our braised ribs right out of the oven 2 seconds ago. It's probably gonna still be simmering there on the inside. See it bubbling right there. Yeah, so there we go. That's exactly what we want. So now what we're going to do is we're just gonna let it cool for like a full hour. And what we don't wanna do is you don't wanna pull those braised ribs out of the hot liquid because it could fall right off the bone. Once we cool it and put it in the fridge for a few hours, it's gonna solidify up and be ready for the barbecue. Okay, the ribs have been cooling for 1 hour now. What I like to do is just let it, give it 45 minutes to an hour, let it cool down a little bit. And what we're gonna do is we're going to transfer it to a plate. I'm also gonna let it cool there a little bit more on the plate because the liquid still is warm. It was 425 degrees just an hour ago. So we're just gonna let it almost cool completely. And then we'll put it in the fridge and then I'll cover it. Okay, so I let it cool out of the liquid on the plate for a few minutes. You can see I tried one of them. One of the ribs here, I just cut one off. Super delicious. It's seasoned, so that seasoned chicken stock has seasoned the meat all the way through. You can still see that rub that I put on in the beginning, it's actually still on there, and you can taste it after it's been braised. You'd almost think it would all just wash off, but it doesn't. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cover it in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. You could put this in the fridge for maybe 3-4 hours, or you can do it overnight. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do it overnight and I'm gonna finish it on the barbecue tomorrow with some barbecue sauce. Hey guys, so the ribs have been in the fridge overnight. They've solidified up really nice, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish them on the barbecue. Let's check it out. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to start on the presentation side. That's this side that the customer would see first. I like to put that side down. Get that on there. Here's the half of one that I tried there last night.
So what I like to do, guys, is I like to layer all the flavors. You know, you want to impart as much flavor into food as you can. So what we did first is we seasoned it, we braised it in chicken stock. Now we're gonna char grill it a little bit, get a little bit of charry flavor, and then we're gonna finish it with barbecue sauce. So we have about 3 layers of flavor happening on the inside there. We've got the braise, we've got the seasoning, we've got the char on there, and we're finishing with barbecue sauce. That is going to result in a really flavorful rib.
Okay, let's see how they're doing in here. So there we go, that's what we want to see. Okay, so it's heating it up, it's adding a little bit of charry flavor. We're just gonna flip them over and let it go on that side for a couple minutes. Okay guys, so ribs have heated up on the top and the bottom. So what we're gonna do now is just add your favorite barbecue sauce. Some are sweet, some are spicy, some are thick, some are thin. Just use your favorite one. And I'm just gonna brush it all over. Brush here. If it's a thinner one like I have here, you can do a couple of layers on there. So you can brush it on. Just try and get it all over, all the different spots. I'm gonna close the lid, and what's gonna happen is we're gonna let that barbecue sauce solidify. The sugars in this sauce are going to turn into a nice glaze, and they're gonna thicken up. Okay guys, you can see it's starting to thicken up a little bit there. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn it over. We're gonna get sauce onto the bottom as well. You want sauce to be absolutely everywhere. And again, we're just adding sauce. We're gonna paint it on. I'm gonna turn it back over and do a second coat on the other side after this one's done, because we all like it nice and saucy. Okay guys, so I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna flip this over. You can see we've got some char marks on there. The barbecue sauce is starting to caramelize. I'm adding a second layer of sauce now. Okay, I'm gonna brush that. Nice even layer. Okay, while that's doing our thing, I am also going to do some char-grilled zucchinis. Okay guys, it's only been about a minute and a half. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a quarter turn on these. You see we got a little bit of char grill mark on there. So we're just gonna quarter turn it. Okay, so as you can see, it's like all bubbly, it's all delicious. Just gonna flip it over, just onto that presentation side again for another minute or so, and just really get that caramelization happening. Super beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do with these zucchinis is I'm going to flip it onto the green side here. So you can see I got some. Okay guys, so my iPhone overheated when I was filming at the barbecue, but I was just about done. I was just finishing off saying that the zucchini, you just need like 30 seconds more just on the bottom. The ribs turned out great. They're all nice and charry. They're nice and glazed, and it's just fork tender. Look at the bone, just pulls apart super easy, and it's gonna be super delish. Okay, so the ribs turned out awesome. We're just gonna give it a try here. So good. Super tender from that braise. Like I was mentioning, with all the layers of flavor of the chicken stock, the seasoning, the char grill, the barbecue sauce. Absolutely delicious. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching another episode with Chef Ryan. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys soon.